What's up guys, this is Ultimate iDevice Vids, and today in this video we're going to be doing a speed test between the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 7. So with the iPhone 13 currently being the latest iPhone out, and the iPhone 7 being one of the oldest iPhones still supported by the latest iOS being iOS 15, I want to compare them head to head and just see how much of a difference in terms of speed and performance you're going to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis with these two devices. And real quick, I just want to show you guys that both of these devices are running at their peak performance capability, and they're also both running the latest version of iOS 15 as of recording this video. Let's kick things off with some app launching tests. So we're going to do a few stock applications, and then we're going to do a bunch of App Store applications. So starting off with some of these super light and simple stock applications that come with every iPhone straight out of the box. As you can see, a very small difference between these two devices. Of course, with apps like this that are again just so simple, this is where you're going to see the least difference between these two iPhones. Of course, both iPhones are going to launch into these applications very quickly. I mean, you're basically looking at maybe a half a second difference, maximum 1 to 2 seconds. And now let's get into some of those App Store applications. So we're going to start off with some of the lighter App Store applications like Instagram here, and launching these applications is also just a very small difference between these two devices. For most of these apps, it's slightly more noticeable difference than the stock apps, but again, it's maximum like half a second, 1 second, occasionally 2 seconds for these lighter App Store applications like this. And as I often say in this type of video, this is a difference that you'd probably never really notice in day-to-day life. Of course, when we're comparing these two phones side by side, the difference is going to show. But again, just using both of these devices independently, you're probably not going to notice any real difference with, again, simple tasks like these. And as we start to get into some of the slightly heavier applications, some of these games here, a bigger difference does start to show. Of course, these applications are a little bit larger, a little bit more CPU intensive, so that is to be expected, but again, it's still not that big of a deal at all, just a few seconds really. As I've mentioned in a lot of my recent iPhone speed test videos, I think Apple's done a great job at maintaining the performance of older iPhones that still support the latest iOS 15 update. The iPhone 7 being one of those older iPhones, I think that absolutely is true with this device as well. As you can see, it still holds up perfectly fine against the latest iPhone generation. And as we start to get into some of the much heavier applications like PUBG here and Asphalt 9, this is where you're going to see the biggest difference in launch time between the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 13. As once again, these applications are, pretty big console level games, so that is to be expected. As you can see here, the iPhone 13 even takes a good few seconds to launch up Asphalt 9. So you can imagine the iPhone 7 definitely takes quite a while longer. I'm just speeding through here until the iPhone 7 fully launches up the game. And next, we're going to do a consecutive app launching test. So we're going to be launching the same set of App Store applications consecutively, one after the next, on both of these devices, and I'm going to show each device doing this side by side to show any speed difference. And with the app switchers on both of these iPhones cleared, let's go ahead and get started. And kicking things off here, as you can see, the iPhone 13 without a doubt is just flying through these applications with no hesitation whatsoever, but the iPhone 7 is also holding up quite well. The iPhone 7 is pretty consistently around 2 to 3 applications behind the iPhone 13 throughout this test, as you're seeing. However, it's holding up perfectly fine, and it's doing a very good job of getting into and getting out of these applications in very fast succession. And what I just mentioned a few seconds ago also applies here. Of course, when you're comparing two devices side by side like this doing the same thing, you're going to notice a difference in speed and performance. But again, if you're just using these devices one at a time, it's not going to be that big of a difference. Now, of course, as we start to get into some of these slightly heavier applications and, towards the end of the test, some of the much heavier applications, the speed difference is definitely much more perceivable. But again, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that big of a deal. And the only major difference, the only major delay you're going to see in this set of applications really comes down to those two last super heavy applications being PUBG and Asphalt 9. And this is to be expected given just how heavy these applications are. So we'll just speed through here until the iPhone 7 fully launches up the last application being PUBG. And immediately following the consecutive app launching test, I want to go back into every single application that we launched and see which ones remained open as a little bit of a RAM management check. And just to let you guys know, the iPhone 13 has 4 gigabytes of RAM and the iPhone 7 has 2 gigabytes of RAM. And to no surprise, the iPhone 13 was able to keep every single application open when checking in, and the iPhone 7 actually did quite well too. It was able to keep most applications open, including Instagram, Twitter, Amazon, SoundCloud, Gmail, Gmail, Google Maps, Chrome, Asphalt 9, and technically Minecraft, even though it did take a good few seconds for it to reload and resume. Of course, we didn't do anything super CPU intensive, but I still wanted to go back and just check in on the RAM. And considering, again, the iPhone 7 has 2 gigs of RAM, I think it did a very good job in regards to RAM management. And next, as usual, we're going to run a biometrics test, so Touch ID on the iPhone 7 and Face ID on the iPhone 13. And as you saw there, both unlocking mechanisms were blazing fast. And next, we'll run a web page loading test. So we're going to launch into Safari here, and we're just going to load a few web pages. Of course, you should keep in mind that this type of test largely depends on your internet connection and, of course, the type of web pages that you're loading. But just for very simple, basic web pages on google.com and apple.com, as you can see here, both of these devices are just very fast. Again, split-second difference, as you've seen throughout the duration of this test. And in terms of web page scrolling, just on apple.com here, as you can see, blazing fast, very smooth on both. Of course, that could also depend on, again, the type of web page that you're on. And lastly, as usual, we're going to run a few benchmark tests, starting off with Geekbench. And here are the numbers. As to be expected with, again, a device that's 5 years old, you're definitely going to see a pretty big difference when it comes to benchmark scores. And we're also going to run an Antutu benchmark. And here are the Antutu numbers as well. Basically, same thing to report here. So at the end of the day, the iPhone 7 holds up very well on iOS 15 in 2022. And in addition to just supporting the latest iOS version as of recording this video, the iPhone 7's speed and performance has been maintained pretty well on the latest iOS update, which is great to see. As always, if you guys are using either of these iPhones, let me know down below in the comments section how the speed and performance has been for you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.